Okay, I welcome you all again in our today's lecture. So today in this session, we are going to talk about the Renaissance and with the focus on the Erasmus, Luther, and Machiavelli. These three philosophers actually we are going to focus on in this lecture. Let's begin with the very basic about Renaissance and what do we mean by Renaissance. A little bit of historical background of the Renaissance period and its philosophy. You know, the medieval philosophy had culminated in the cumulative achievements of scholasticism, a grand system of thought developed by generations of patient scholars employing Neoplatonic and Aristotelian philosophy in the service of traditional Christian theology. That means in the medieval period, we have seen that how medieval philosophy developed with the help of Neoplatonic philosophy and Aristotelian philosophy. And it was done by the theologians, especially the Christian theologians, and also we can say there's Christian theologian plus also the philosophers. So they helped the development of the medieval philosophy. And after the medieval philosophy, we actually gradually, we moved to the Renaissance period. So here you see that by the end of the 15th century, confidence in the success of the enterprise had eroded, and many thinkers tried to make a fresh start by rejecting such extensive reliance on the authority of earlier scholars. Such as religious reformers challenged ecclesiastical authority and made individual believers responsible for their own relation to God. Prominent Renaissance thinkers proposed an analogous elimination of all appeals to authority in education and science. So you can see the development just like this, that the medieval philosophy, it developed some kind of, the theology-based philosophy. But with the advancement of science and technology and different kinds of geographical discoveries, that means the development of the education system and philosophical system, people started challenging those medieval philosophies and philosophers. They started asking questions about the authenticity and about the genuineness of those philosophies, of those thoughts. So as a result, you can see a group of philosophers, a group of thinkers who have found in the Renaissance period that they started challenging the ecclesiastical authority. That means the authority of the church. The church will control, or the bishops, or the fathers, all those peoples related with the church, they will control everything. So this controlling system, they challenged it. That is it the authentic way to have the authority over the people? Can religion manipulate everything? So they challenge the religion. They challenge the existing church system. And they think that an individual will be responsible for his own mistakes, for his own deeds. Do you understand what I'm saying? That means individualism is there. The individual person will be responsible for his own deeds, not the religion. Religion cannot decide that what will be my fate. So this is the way Renaissance actually started developing. So with the advent of this Renaissance period, we can see the development of the education system, especially in the educational practice, and it was revolutionized by the recovery of ancient documents, the rejection of institutional authority, and renewed emphasis on individual freedom. So you see the three things. First, the recovery of ancient documents. You see lots of translation work was going on there, and people could come to know about different kinds of texts from different parts of the world. And these texts, and some of the texts, they're very highly influential, full of philosophy. So they come to know about these texts, this newly discovered knowledge, and also the rejection of institutional authority. Institutional authority means the authority of the monarchy and the authority of the church. So they started rejecting this. They started challenging these authorities. And at the same time, the renewed emphasis on individual freedom that I have already mentioned, that people started believing in themselves, in their own authority, that an individual is responsible for his own fate. That means man is the creator of own fate. There is nothing religion can do about it. So that was the idea. So the humanists express an enormous confidence in power of reason as a source of profound understanding of human nature and of our place in the natural order. So the humanists, they took reason and they say that reason can help us to understand the human nature, the human life. So logic or reason, that can help us. That means you can use your head, not your heart, not your feelings. Don't go for the emotion, go for the logic. That can help you to understand the human nature. And also it can establish some kind of order, a natural order in our life. So that was what the humanists actually they were propagating. So we can see such kind of humanists or philosophers of this time like Giovanni Pico della Mirandell's oration, for example, had held forth the possibilities for a comprehensive new order of knowledge, relying on human understanding without reference to divine revelation. So you see, everybody was trying to explain it in that way, that we have to rely on human understanding, not on the divine revelation, not on the religious scriptures like Bible, like like Torah. We shouldn't depend on these. We should depend on our human understanding, because man is the creator of his own fate, that I've already mentioned. So for some, like Desiderius, Erasmus, and Marsilio Ficino, this spirit found expression in a return to careful study of classical texts in their own right, without relying on the centuries of scholastic commentary. So you see, these philosophers, influenced by these texts, like Erasmus and also like Marsilio, what did they do? They rejected the old explanation of these texts, and they started explaining texts in their own right, in their own way, by influencing by their own human understanding. But for more revolutionary thinkers, as diverse as Giordano Bruno and Francisco Suarez, humanism offered an opportunity to incorporate modern developments along with classical elements in entirely new systems of metaphysical knowledge. So everybody is contributing in their own way to revolutionize the thinking process, the education system, and is based on, personal development or the individualism. So the rise of the new science also contributed, in the progression of the Renaissance philosophies, because it offered a significant, this new science offered a significant change in the prospect of human knowledge of the natural world. So science helped us to understand the world in a new way, not depending on the religious scripture. We are not explaining the natural world. So you see, the Copernicus, he introduced the idea, and he also proved the idea, the heliocentric view. Because before that, the church authority, they also they didn't believe in this heliocentric view. They believed in the geocentric view. Now the geocentric view is that people in the church or in the authority, they believe that the earth is in the center and everything is revolving around it. Do you understand what I'm saying? Geocentric view is, geo mean the world. So world is in the center and everything is moving around it. But scientists like Copernicus, they proved that no, this is not true. But church, they believed in it. They also tried to prove it using their Bible, that the earth is in the center. But the scientists, they proved it, no, earth is not in the center. It is heliocentric. Heliocentric means the sun is in the center and all other planets is revolving around the sun. So you see,
sir, they think earth in center, then they think sun.
No, the church people in the church, the ecclesiastical authority, they believed that earth is in the center. But the scientists proved that no, not the earth, but the sun is in the center of the universe. Yes, so you see, it's a challenge to the authority. So in the Renaissance period, we are seeing this with the advancement of the science. And also you see, Kepler, what did he do? Copernicus, he said that it is heliocentric view. It is the heliocentric, his view is heliocentric. On the other hand, Kepler, he also provided with a mathematical interpretation of it. So you see, Copernicus and Kepler, both of them, they proved it that our world is heliocentric. It is not geocentric, our universe is. So you see, it was a challenge to the existing belief. So in this way, science was challenging all the existing belief of that time, and medieval philosophies, and especially the church authority, they feel threatened by these new discoveries. So the education and also the scientific discoveries, all these things together actually challenge the existing social system and existing belief, existing religious system, religious belief. Now here on the same page, page 2, the skeptical challenge. I will just skip some of the paragraphs and I will go through this. The skeptical challenge. Skeptical means, you are doubtful about something. So you see, because of the scientific discovery, lots of skepticism is actually going on in the people's mind. People became very much skeptical about different things. They started asking questions about the existing belief system, about the existing tradition, about the existing religious system. So while the Renaissance encouraged abandonment of the benefits of scholastic learning, it could offer only the promise that new ways of thinking might one day suitably replace them. So they believe that the new way of thinking will replace all the scholastic learning of the previous era. Along with high hopes for the achievement of human knowledge came significant doubts about its possibility. By recovering and translating the works of Sextus Empiricus, humanist scholars introduced the tradition of classical skepticism as an element of modern thought. So you see, as we mentioned just a few minutes back, that with the discovery of the new text, that is, they were translating texts from different other languages, and people in the Western world, they came to know of different thoughts, different ideas from different parts of the world. And one of these is Sextus Empiricus, and his classical skepticism, which was introduced in the modern thought of Western society. So it's not only the science and the education actually is providing you with certainty, with facts. At the same time, this Renaissance movement, this Renaissance philosophical movement also providing us with some kind of, with the skepticism. So now we have the text in our hand that how to question things, how to have, become a skeptic about the, about the existing thoughts and about the existing norms. So turning the power of reasoning against itself at every opportunity, the finalists proposed that we suspend all belief whenever we find ourselves capable of doubting the thought, doubting the truth of what we suppose. Now, this is very interesting. We are using reasoning, critical reasoning, we are using logic to justify our knowledge, to justify the fact. Now, when we find the fact, then again, we have another logic to challenge that established fact. So you see, a constant skepticism is going on there. So nothing is stable. Do you get my point, what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
You're establishing one point, then again, you're using another logic to destabilize that point. So nothing is stable. Everything is suspended. That's why we suspend all belief whenever we find ourselves capable of doubting the truth of what we suppose. So whatever the capacity we have, all the time, we try to destabilize or we try to doubt everything that we have, everything that we know as truth. The trouble is that very little beyond immediate personal experience can pass this test of skepticism. So you see, if you really want to establish that kind of thing, you need to have very good knowledge about the, about the philosophy, about different fields of knowledges. Otherwise, you will not be able to pursue this kind of thing, this kind of philosophical adventure. It's not possible. So that's why it says that the trouble is that very little beyond immediate personal experience can pass this test of skepticism. It's very difficult because you need lots of things and you have to have huge knowledge to practice this kind of skepticism. Now, the greatest exponent of modern fatalism was the Michel de Montaigne, whose essays gave prominent place to skeptical arguments. So you see, Michel de Montaigne, his essays gave us this essence and gave us some kind of, you can say, backup, so that we can use his ideas from those texts and we can become skeptical or can have skeptical arguments, debate. So any attempt to achieve knowledge is misguided on this view because it arrogantly supposes that the natural world and everything in it exists only for the satisfaction of our curiosity. So now this is very interesting. Now here it says that if you really try to gain knowledge, when actually you will try to achieve knowledge, you'll be misguided every time. Why? Because your curiosity, your idle curiosity, it will never be satisfied. So one after, gaining one knowledge, then again you will challenge it and you will try to gain another knowledge. So according to Michel de Montaigne, gaining knowledge, it's a kind of endless journey, endless adventure, he's saying. So because it arrogantly supposes that the natural world and everything in it exists only for the satisfaction of our idle curiosity. That means it's very for the time being. So since the evidence of our sense is notoriously liable to error and the reliability of logical reasoning cannot be demonstrated without circularity, we would indeed be better off to doubt everything and rest comfortably with mere opinion. So now he says that since actually our sense perception, our sense, actually it can be misguided at any time, and it is very much, it's very prone to error. It's liable to error. So that's why he's saying that it's, you cannot find the fact. You cannot say that something which is very absolute, that is absolute. You cannot say that. There is no such thing. So that's why he's saying that we would indeed be better off to doubt everything and rest comfortably with mere opinion. He said that instead of, pursuing this kind of fact finding, better we keep quiet, or we get happy, not quiet actually. We have the doubt, we can doubt everything, and we can live with that thing. And we can just have opinion, but we cannot get fact out of anything. Now, the central questions. So what are the central questions, of this Renaissance period? Now, the central questions of the Renaissance period, it can have several distinct areas. The philosophical issues can be divided into several distinct areas. For example, epistemology, and also we have metaphysics, we have ethics, and metaphilosophy. So epistemology, can human beings achieve any certain knowledge of the world? So that is the question we can ask. Can human beings achieve any certain knowledge of the world? So it's a very crucial question. It's a question that actually all of us, we think that, is it really possible that we can have certain knowledge of the world? Because whatever actually we try to know, it's endless. There are lots of things, and all the time you have doubts. You have one fact today, then tomorrow you'll find that it is challenged by another fact. So it's an endless process. That's why the question is, it's a very rhetoric question, that can human beings achieve any certain knowledge of the world? If it is possible, then what are the sources upon which genuine knowledge depends? Then what are the sources that on which the knowledge depends? So you have to think about the sources of the knowledge. In particular, how does sense perception operate in service of human knowledge? And then comes the question of human sense perception. Because human sense perception already, we have come to know that it is very much, it's not infallible. It's prone to mistake. Anytime actually our human sense perception, it can commit mistakes. That's also, it's not reliable in that way. Totally. Then metaphysics. What kinds of things ultimately compose the universe? So this is another question, that what kinds of things ultimately compose the universe? That we are thinking about the composition of the universe. What are the things there in the universe? So these are the metaphysical questions we're asking. And you see, all these questions, whenever you ask, they're endless. You will never come to a fixed answer with these questions. Then again, with the question of ethics. Here it says, by what standard should human conduct be evaluated? Now, I can ask you the question that, what will be our standard code of conduct, the human conduct, that actually we will be evaluated on the basis of? Some people will say that it will be religious scripture. Some people, for Muslims, we will say that it will be Quran and Hadith. Christian people, they will say it will be the Bible. The Bible will be the standard, and accordingly, our human conduct will be evaluated. So Bible will be the standard. That will be the parameter to judge or to justify our conduct. Muslims will say that. Jewish people will say another thing. So you see, it varies. So we cannot come to a concrete decision that what will be the common code of conduct, and for that, on the basis of that, we'll evaluate all the human being all over the world. So that is also an endless question. Endless journey. We cannot find any specific answer to this question also. Then again, metaphilosophy. Does philosophy have a distinctive place in human life generally? That means, is there any specific place of philosophy in our life? Or what are the proper aims and methods of philosophical inquiry? So specific proper aims and methods of philosophical inquiry. Still, we cannot fix it. Different people will come up with different kinds of answers to all these questions. So you see, the Renaissance was a challenge to the people. Now, since we're running out of time, I would like just to give you a little bit of, different philosophers, especially the three main philosophers that we're going to talk about. First of all, you have to focus on the Desiderius Erasmus, or we can say Erasmus, and also you have to focus on, or you should learn about another philosopher. His name is Martin Luther. And the third and the last one from our discussion is Machiavelli. So try to focus on these three philosophers, and they're very important. All of them from this age, from this Renaissance period, and because without these people, actually, we simply can't imagine that how Renaissance could happen. During that time in the Western world. For example, if you just give you a little bit of idea about one of my favorites, rather I should say, is Machiavelli. It's in the last page. Here you see. Just bear with me for a second. Now here, you can see it on the screen. It's on page 11 of your handout. Here you see. Niccolo Machiavelli was an Italian Renaissance historian, politician, diplomat, philosopher, humanist, and writer. Just see a person. What kind of person actually he is? He is everything. He was a historian, he was a politician, he was a diplomat, he was a philosopher, humanist, and a writer. He has often been called the founder of modern political science. He was, for many years, a senior official in the French Republic with responsibilities in diplomatic and military affairs. He also wrote comedies, carnival songs, and poetry. Machiavellianism is a term that actually almost all of us were familiar with, and especially in the political science, people talk about it very much. this Machiavellianism, is a widely used negative term to characterize unscrupulous politicians of sort. Machiavelli described most famously in The Prince. Prince was one of his seminal works. It is one of his most important works, for which actually he is widely known because of this book, The Prince. Machiavelli described immoral behavior such as dishonesty and killing innocents as being normal and effective in politics. So you see, in this book, The Prince, he actually talked about how an autocrat, how a monarch, how a ruler, rather I should say. In modern days, you can say how a president or a prime minister, how they can survive well. If you want to survive, then you have to be dishonest. If you want to survive as a ruler, you have to kill innocents, just to threaten the people so that nobody talks against you. If you want to survive, then you have to use tricks to befool the people, to stupefy the people. So he suggested all these techniques in his book, that how can you survive as a ruler. So that's why this book is very famous, and some rogue politicians, people say that they follow this Machiavellianism so that they can survive as a ruler longer than the common people expected. So he even seemed to endorse it in some situations. The book itself gained notoriety when some readers claimed that the author was teaching evil and providing evil recommendations to tyrants to help them maintain their power. So people complain that actually he suggested very bad things, very bad strategies for the tyrants, and tyrants can use these techniques to maintain their power. The term Machiavellian is often associated with political deceit, deviousness, and real politics. So you see, it is related, this Machiavellian, this idea is related with the political deceit or deviousness. Deceit means deception. Deviousness means same thing, deception or deceitfulness, you can say. That means he influenced this political science, and also, you can say the modern democratic political philosophy. He influenced a lot, through his work. And I will request you to read also about Martin Luther. He was a reformist, and in a sense, he was a Protestant. And there is a specific sect called Lutheran, and this sect is actually based on his suggestions, his belief. Though actually, he propagated those ideas in his treatises and in his writings. That is Martin Luther. And also the other one, in our text that we have, that is no other than Erasmus, and he was from present days. He was from actually Netherlands, or he was a Dutch. And he was very famous, and he also influenced the European tradition of philosophy very heavily. And you can also read about him. Most of the things, the important things are here. I have already mentioned it here. So you can use all these things in your exams. Still, if you have any confusion, you can talk to me, and we can have another session, formally or informally, if you want. And we can talk about all these philosophers in detail in that session as well. So if you have any question, I can answer it now. We don't have enough time. We have only 2 minutes time. So do you have any comment or any question from today's lecture?
Sir, in Renaissance, yes. Are they create any new belief?
You're talking about whom?
Sir, Renaissance people,
yes.
That time people.
Yes.
Are they create any new belief?
No, exactly nothing. They created lots of new ideas. For example, this democratic belief that was, introduced by Machiavelli. So that was a new thing in philosophy. People didn't talk about it openly in that way. And it wasn't philosophized in that way. It wasn't institutionalized in that way, the way actually he did it in his book, The Prince. So that was a new thing. Then Erasmus also did the same thing. And also the Luther, he introduced a new sect of Christian people. In that sense, you can say, yes, almost all of them created something new. For example, Luther himself, he created a different sect of Christian. Still today, we have Lutheran people, and they call, after his name, we call them Lutheran. These Christian people, just like Protestant, just like Catholic, we have another group in Christianity, we call them Lutheran. So you see, they created lots of new ideas and new sect of people during this Renaissance period. I hope you have got that answer. Yes. Any other question or opinion?
Thank you, sir.
We have less than 1 minute, so if you don't have any question, I would like to finish it here. Okay? All right. Thank you very much for your kind cooperation, and I really appreciate whatever actually so far you have done, and you have made it very much interesting. So I hope to see you in our next lecture.
Thank you,
sir. Discussion about.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for your patience.
Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Welcome, sir.
Sir, সুস্থ থাকবেন, sir.
Thank you.